Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. We're going to start this new series, the Learn to Effing Draw, right? Okay, cool. So I'm not going to get real hard into all of the foundations. We'll probably do a follow-up video after the first 5. And what those 5 are going to be are your basic foundations of art. So line, shape, form, value. I can't really make a 3, but you get what I'm going at. So line, shape, form, value, and perspective. Those are your 5 foundations. Today we're going to talk about lines. Everybody can draw a line. It's not hard, guys. Can you write? If you can write, you can draw a line. Lines aren't a lot of... There's not a lot of magic, voodoo, mojo. It's not rocket surgery. It's literally just making a line being one point to another, zip. That's a line. This is really the foundation of everything. Or at least in my opinion. You know, everybody has different opinions, but this is where I kind of sit with this. Make a line. If you can make a line, you can make a drawing. We're not looking at the foundations of art as a whole, we're looking at drawing. So, everything artistic starts with drawing. You have to kind of know how to draw to be able to paint. You have to kind of know how to draw to be able to sculpt. Drawing is foundational. Lines are the foundation of drawing. Isn't it cool? The simplest thing in the world creates some of the most complex pieces of art you'll ever look at. So, everything starts as a line. You know, everybody can doodle. Doodling is line drawing. But we're going to really get into this. So, let's kind of go into it, right? So, what is a line? It's, again, a line is a mark between one point to another. Nothing else. Anybody can make a line. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be about any of the tools you're using. They help, but none of it matters. Everything you do with a line has to be about intent. That's really it. You have to commit to that line. If you write your name, if you doodle on a napkin, if you do anything, you do use lines. What we're going to try to do is refine what that line is for you. And let's kind of go into what lines are. There's quite a few types of lines, but we're going to really focus on just kind of the generals. Literally the first foundational thing is a straight line, one point to another. Nothing else, nothing more. It's a very rigid line. You know, you're going to use that to define anything inorganic, you know. Let's see, buildings, airplanes, cars. You're going to use a lot of straight lines in those. Anything mechanical really benefits from straight lines. Then you have your thick and your thin lines. You know, and literally, again, none of this is hard. Thick and thin. You can create value with thick lines versus thin lines. You create a hierarchy. What do you want to see on that page first? If you really want something to pop out, you're going to use that thick line, and then you come in with your thin lines and create details out of all of that. You can do a continuous or a broken line. So, like, creating a... Oh, let's see. Well, if you create a line, and then you stop the line, break the line, break the line, break the line, you can still kind of see that line, which goes actually into an actual line versus an implied line. Actual line, continuous line, same thing. Broken lines, you can imply a line that way. And then also you can do expressive lines, where you're just whipping that line and kind of giving it some energy. You can create a mood with that line versus a controlled line where you can really kind of focus on, again, that rigidity. That I like using organic, curved, expressive lines when I'm sketching. That kind of helps me build everything up, and then I can come back in and tighten everything up and control them. But your lines are really, like I said, I keep hammering back to this. Lines are foundational. All your lines really, they have a job. Whether you know it or not, they all have a job. Your lines define your shapes. You can create a silhouette using a line. You can create mass with that line, creating that shape, all of that. You know where that piece is. You can actually use lines to show depth. You can use like creating contour lines. And a contour line is what defines a shape. Kind of cool. We're going to get into shape later, but keep that in mind. Lock that up in the back of your head somewhere. Shape can be defined by contour. Or not shape, form. Anyways, we'll go into shape, we'll go into form. Like I said, we're getting to that. But remember, contour lines can build your form up. You can create texture with lines. Anything that you can do with shading, all of that stuff can be done using a line. You can actually lead someone in. You can imply a line and lead your eye around a page. You can use a line to define the composition of an art. You can build form with a line, like we said earlier, by using contour, that sort of thing. Lines are really cool, So one of the things people tend to struggle with using lines, and this is something everybody fights with this. I'm the same way. Think of a coloring book where everything is basically the same line weight. Everything's really heavy. You see that a lot, especially when you're starting out as an artist. Everything gets really flat. Everything is, I like to call them dead lines. There's no varying in that line weight. We can show depth without even showing a single bit of shadow, just by the way you play with your line work. Try not to make everything too flat. Lines can be used, like I said earlier, we can use lines to define depth. You can use lines to define shape, form, value. That's why I wanted to start with lines. Lines are the foundation. And I mean, let's be honest, you can have the best tools in the world. I use an iPad, I use digital art, I use traditional art, and everything I do starts with a line defining a shape, defining a form, defining value. I can use all of that to create. If you have weak lines in your art, nothing else is really going to look right, especially with drawing. So we really want to kind of focus on making sure those lines look great. And, I've said it before, this is foundational. So the better you get using your lines, the better you get working with lines, everything else will just stack right up on top of all of that. All of this because the line is the foundation. You can use line to do anything in art. But that's really the fun part about this, is these are all fundamentals. They're going to be boring. We're going to have some boring time doing all of this. And if you look at the video below, or if you've watched the video as I'm sitting here yapping at you, you're going to see that I'm doing these drills. I'm showing you what I mean by defining your lines, by showing lines, by doing all of that fun stuff. Okay, it's not really that fun, but I'm trying to make it feel like I'm having fun. Lines, well, I mean, honestly, basics. They're boring. They really are. But if you skip them, if you don't work on those fundamentals, everything else kind of crumbles. So what I'd like you guys to do is go ahead and, do some drills. It's fun if you allow it to be. Do those drills. Post them. Tag me in it. Please, let me see them. I'd love to help you. Get those fundamentals down, guys. And let's embrace the suck. Let's go ahead and go out there. Let's make some bad art, guys. I hope you really enjoy the video. If you did, post a like, post a comment, share it. If you didn't like it, tell the people you can't stand. Maybe they'll watch it. But let people know that we're taking art back. And we need to. Anyways, guys, y'all have a great day. Thank you again for watching. And if you have any questions, never hesitate to reach out. I will always try to answer, and I will always try to give you the best advice I can give you. Anyways, get out there, make bad art, embrace the suck. Bye.